Da 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 da. Welcome back to Disenfranchised, the podcast that identifies disenfranchised grief through every episode of Friends, one at a time. We are back into season 2, episode 14, the one with the prom video, also known as He's Your Lobster, and what that really means in grief. I'm Karen Bulinski Mathison, founder of The Naked Grief and creator of the Disenfranchised podcast. And as we dive in, let's just remember that this all takes place in the 90s, folks. And, that's back when we didn't have the flat screen TVs and we had beta and VHS tapes and no cell phones. So that's kind of fun to just kind of plug back into that era. So while most friends remember this as the her lobster moment, we're peeling back the layers of the 90s nostalgia to talk about something much rawer. We're talking about the grief of what could have been, the identity crisis that comes with job loss, and why watching an old home video can feel like a direct assault on your mental health sometimes. It can also feel really good to have those memories. Can be both. So this first part is the one where everyone's carrying a heavy box. The gang's navigating a lot of almosts and used to be's. Joey is finally making Days of Our Lives money and buys Chandler a hideously expensive gold tacky bracelet to say thanks for years of financial support. Chandler, being Chandler, mocks it, leading to a massive friendship rupture. Meanwhile, Monica's spiraling. She's unemployed, her funds are dry, and her parents survive not with a check, but with boxes of her old stuff because they're turning her childhood bedroom into a gym. Talk about symbolic displacement. They're also preserving Ross's old bedroom as like a trophy room. So, and then there's Ross. He's still in the doghouse after the list with Rachel. And she's told him in no uncertain terms that they are never going to be together. It's never going to happen. And she's exhausted and she's showing classic signs of emotional burnout from the back and forth clobbering of their relationship. The centerpiece, of course, is the prom video. As they watch a teenage Monica pre-weight loss and a teenage Rachel pre-nose job, sorry, I wanted to go back so you could see the video of it. Pre-nose job, get ready for prom. They witness a moment no one knew existed. Ross seeing Rachel get stood up, potentially, dressing up in his dad's tuxedo to save her night, only to be rejected when her date actually does show up at the last second. That really was probably like the coolest moment, right? Ross steps up. Nobody ever knew he had the hero move. Everybody knew how he felt about her, but he had his moment, his opportunity, the big what if. So when we talk about what is disenfranchised grief, we're talking about losses that don't get a funeral. So in this episode, we see 3 massive disenfranchised grief examples. Rejection grief and the loss of the almost relationship. Ross is mourning a future that hasn't happened yet. He's grieving the us that Rachel says will never exist. Society often tells us to just move on if you weren't officially together, but the grief of unrequited longing is as deep, unrecognized form of pain. So Ross is carrying the shame of his mistakes and the heavy weight of a love that has nowhere to go. But then Phoebe comes in with the whole lobster example, right? Which Ross evidently fumbles, but still a funny moment and an amazing metaphor. I'm still looking for my next lobster. So then we have the identity and career grief of Monica. Like back at the end of season 1 is when she lost her job, beginning of season 2. But anyway, she lost her job during the Hootie and the Blowfish episode. And she still hasn't landed properly on her feet. So she isn't just looking for a job, she's grieving her identity as a successful chef. When your career stalls, it's easy to slip into unrecognized grief. And then her parents literally pack up her childhood, converting her room into a gym as the final "you don't live here anymore" stamp. It's a loss of belonging and a loss of the safety net that she thought she had. But the other part to the identity and career grief is when you're let go, not by choice, because you're let go, that can rattle you. And trying to do your next best thing is hard. Sometimes carrying that weight of who you think you are shines through in those interviews. If you don't feel confident, they see that insecurity and may not hire you. You were let go for a mistake that you weren't aware of. Yeah, that part really kind of sucks. But she did take something that wasn't hers and she shouldn't have. So, it happens. They explained it. And now she knows and she's not going to do that again. But the penalty and the price, she's still paying and she's still spiraling. So the body identity grief too, the past grief. So we're looking at Rachel before the nose job and Monica before the weight loss. Watching fat Monica on the screen is played for laughs, but for anyone who has undergone a major physical transformation, seeing your old self can trigger a complex wave of grief. You're mourning the person you were while simultaneously feeling the sting of the judgment that person faced. It's a reactivation of old wounds. Again, for those of you that are following my own journey, I've had a couple of posts that I've done, and the whole reason why I'm showing my face on these now is because I'm getting used to the new me. It's a small scar. It really is. But my mouth is crooked. I see it. I'm aware of it. I'll call it out. Maybe it's subtle and maybe you don't notice it that much. And that's okay. It's also the advantage of having a small floating head at the bottom of the screen instead of me huge in the center of the page. But I watched the videos prior to going in for the surgery when my mouth was straight, when I didn't have a line on my face, and I didn't feel like my cheek was still out to here when I know it's not. But it is triggering. And when I'm trying to put together posts and visuals and I can't do it correctly, and I'm seeing the old me from posts that I had scheduled prior to the surgery come through, it rattles me a little. So I identify with what Monica's going through. Definitely. I've been struggling with my weight since pre-pregnancy of my first kid and haven't really shaken it since. So I get all of it. Now, as always, how the friends show up and support. Sometimes they don't always support the right way, and the show is made to make it funny. But it's important to call it out too, right? So how do the friends handle these heavy emotional loads? Phoebe's lobster theory. This is the ultimate example of reframing. Phoebe uses destiny language, lobsters mate for life, to try and soothe Ross's uncertainty. While it's charming, it's a mental health context. In a mental health context, it can sometimes lean towards toxic positivity, trying to fix someone's grief with a cute metaphor instead of just sitting in the never going to happen with them. And then the bracelet blender. Joey's love language is gift giving. Is it? I mean, in this episode it is. He wants to show gratitude for the years Chandler carried him, and when Chandler mocks the bracelet, he isn't just mocking a piece of jewelry, he's mocking Joey's attempt to repair the power imbalance in their friendship. I pity the fool who has to wear this. It's a friendship rupture that requires real repair work and not just a joke. And you're going to see that even though they mend during this episode, it's also what causes the next several episodes to kind of create the big moments between Joey and Chandler that are still to come in this season. And the power of the video. Rachel's grief over Ross's list was centered on the idea that he didn't truly see or respect her. And the video acts as a witness. It proves his devotion in a way words couldn't. Sometimes coping with grief and loss requires a tangible reminder that we were once loved or that someone truly cares. So the coaching moments and the what ifs. If I were to plant myself in Central Perk and start talking to the team about what it is that they're experiencing and how to better support them, watching old footage is a double-edged sword. It can be a beautiful memory or it can be a grief trigger that puts you right back in the shoes of your 17-old rejected self, remembering what it was like to fit into a bathing suit 3 times your size. If you find yourself clobbered by old photos or videos, give yourself permission to turn it off. You don't owe yourself or your past self a front row seat to your current pain. Repair after harm. Chandler's apology to Joey is a great lesson in the repair. He realizes he hurt Joey's feelings and he makes a commitment, even if it fails briefly, to honor Joey's love language. If you've mocked a friend's vulnerability, the way back isn't through more jokes. It's through acknowledging the value of their intent. Now, the what if scenarios. What if Ross had named his longing? Instead of trying to win Rachel back, what if he had just said, I'm grieving the friendship we had and the future I'd hoped for, and I'm sorry that I messed it up? What if the Gellers had responded with curiosity? Imagine if Jack and Judy had said, we're turning your room into a gym, but we want you to know you always have a place here. How are you doing with the job search? Validating the struggle is always better than ignoring it. But we also know that Monica had a very different relationship with her parents than Ross did. We've all been there, or we've seen it happen to people we care about. Maybe it's that moment you're scrolling through your phone and on this day memory pops of an ex-partner or an old job. And suddenly you're not in your kitchen, you're back in that restaurant, feeling the sting of that breakup all over again. That is unrecognized grief hitting you in real time. Or maybe you felt the shame of career stagnation. You're at a party and everyone's talking about their promotions while you're wondering if you'll ever feel successful again. That's identity grief, and it's just as real as any other loss. We see these mental health and TV show moments because they mirror our own lives. And we laugh at Fat Monica or Afro Ross to distance ourselves from the awkward grieving versions of our own pasts. But the truth is, those versions of us deserve a little kindness too. Ross and Rachel might be lobsters, but even lobsters have to deal with the occasional cracked shell. Grief isn't a straight line. And it certainly isn't as simple as a 22-minute sitcom arc or a 15-minute podcast. If you're feeling clobbered by your own life right now, or if you're struggling with types of grief that no one else seems to recognize, you don't have to walk around the tank alone. Visit thenakedgrief.com for resources on disenfranchised grief, or check out our full video breakdowns on our YouTube channel at thenakedgrief.com. Because we know that not all grief comes from death. It's job loss, career pivots, divorce, breakups, empty nests, moving, identity shifts, friendships ending, the loss of the life you thought you'd have. At The Naked Grief, we offer support communities that meet you where you are without pressure, toxic positivity, or having to explain why it hurts. What you'll find here is a private, judgment-free space to process what's changed, practical tools, prompts, and guidance that you can use right away, multiple styles of support that you can choose what fits and switch if you need to, a path to find your footing, one small step at a time. If you're not ready for therapy or coaching yet, but you know you need something, you're in the right place. Learn more at thenakedgrief.com. Also, there's a ton of interactive pieces that have been added, so definitely check it out. Some of them are free and right there on the public site. Others are included within the circles. And again, none of my circles are more than $54 total. I have a grief skills lab that's $54 that talks about EFT tapping, cognitive behavioral techniques, REBT, trauma-informed somatics, just different kinds of healing. And it's just an intro. There are experts out there that can delve a lot deeper, but knowing what you identify with and what feels right to you helps you determine what your next step would be. All of my other circles are monthly, and they run between 27 and 47 a month. Way cheaper than an hour-long session somewhere, and almost as affordable as a gym membership or a daily cup of coffee at your local coffee house. So, the next time on Disenfranchised Grief, we're getting into the aftermath of that big kiss. The one where Ross and Rachel, we'll be talking about the transition from longing to having and the new set of anxieties that this brings. So don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and remember, your grief is real, even if it doesn't have a name yet. See you next Friday. Da 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 da.